Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity. Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity.
Lighting, I don't know. It looks weird in the viewfinder. Maybe it will not look that bad in editing. But today I'm going to be doing a wrap-up for, this is Iron Man and Roadies character boards. First and foremost, we have Iron Man's original character board. This is what it looks like. So, first let's talk about the group books that I have used on this board. I actually did use both January and February's group books. So, that would be Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, which I used for a resourceful character, feature survival, and metallic or gold on the cover. I used Slay, which was our February group book for character in STEM. Those two books are discussed in the links down below. Oops. Wow. Let's talk about As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. This is a very, very short book. It's kind of like an essay, just like a long essay, I guess you could say, about thought, the power of thought, the power of the mind, thought processes, why your thoughts are important, how your thoughts manifest themselves in your life. Obviously, it's not everything, but it is. Okay, I'm tangled. Yeah. But it is significant to your life and important. So, this I've had on my shelf for a long time. Finally read it. I can check it off the box, or I can tick that box. I'm not gonna try anymore. I also already have started out on the wrong foot, out of order. This completed the prompt, a book that will make you grow, or will help you grow or accomplish a personal goal. And my rating for this was, yeah, I gave it 5 stars. That was so complicated just for me to have been correct in my guess. It wasn't perfect, but it did have a lot of good thoughts. I honestly would say that, I don't know if Joyce Meyer read this, but her whole Battlefield of the Mind series kind of genre of work kind of falls somewhat in similar categories in some areas, but I think she did do it better. I don't agree with everything she says or does, but I do think that her Battlefield of the Mind work is some of the best stuff that she has done, and is pretty dang good. So, random tangent aside, that is my thoughts on this. I don't think it's perfect. Do I think it could be helpful? Potentially. It's a good way to open your thoughts up to your thoughts, and the importance of how you actually actively think, and don't just be passive about what goes on in your own head. Next book that I need to talk about is Every Heart a Doorway by Shawnee McGuire. So I recently uploaded a wrap-up of the boards that included the second book to this series, and then after the fact I realized that I hadn't talked about Every Heart a Doorway. So I was like, I could either refilm all that and try to fix it, or I can just accept my mistake, and I'm accepting it. So here I will finally talk about Every Heart a Doorway. But if you want to see me talk about Down Among the Sticks and Bones, then check out the last video, or the last wrap-up recent reads video that I did. So, this completed the prompt, a character with PTSD. So I wouldn't say that our main character necessarily has PTSD, but I would say that a lot of characters in this series represent PTSD, and it is something that is mentioned in several discussions. It's mentioned in the triggers and the conversations about the series by the author as well. So yeah. So that's where it completed. Let's talk about what the series is. This series follows students of a school that is intended for children who have stumbled through portal doorways into other worlds. Nobody except for the people at the school truly understand and believe what these kids have gone through. If you wanted any more information, go to my review on Goodreads. Just find me on Goodreads and then search this book. Ta-da. But that will include trigger warnings. For representation, we do have PTSD, orphan, LGBTQ, specifically trans and asexual, that stood out as like very clear to me. Twins, therapy, and we also have a few racial, including Latino or Latinx, and Asian. Archetypes include school, specifically a boarding school, portal magic, murder mystery, roommates, serial killings, necromancy, talking to the dead, vampires, hot cocoa, statues, and stillness. And that is specific to this installment in the series. So, or some of it is. Some of it is like the whole series. Both plot and character driven. It is kind of like a darkish tone, but like this is not, it's not like overwhelmingly dark, but there's like a twinge, touch of darkness. It's kind of like a hard magic system, but it's hard to say because of the fact that it varies from world to world. So each book installment is a little bit different in how the magic system kind of works. And it's also not super intensely explained how the overall scheme of like defining what a world is goes. Like we don't have a kind of like chart to go by for that. Softer world structure, we don't get a specific setting description, but like fair. The themes are like kind of in the middle, but slightly strong. It's more action and dialogue led than narration, which again makes sense considering the length. Okay, so there's only one thing that I disliked that was brought up in this, which I understand is going to happen in life, but like there are just some things that I'm just like, why do we need to talk about it? Can we just let it go and not mention it? If it's not a significant point or part of the story, or a significant element to our characters, then can we maybe just let it be and like not talk about like things just for the sake of talking about them? That said, there were a lot of really pretty quotes. Like a whole lot of really pretty quotes. I really liked the vibe, the atmospheric feelings. A lot of people talk about like that they read it for the worlds and not for the characters, or at least a few people I've heard talk about it that way. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I really enjoyed the characters. I love Nancy and I want to read more about Nancy. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm obsessed with like her whole vibe. I don't know, she's got a vibe and I dig it. But I'm a fan. I give this 5 out of 5 stars. And I am excited to dive back into this series. I have read past book 2 at this point, but you will have to stay tuned for my next wrap up to see how far along I am in the series now. One more prompt from Iron Man's board, and that is about a paternal figure. Now, I did have a book picked out for this, and I could have picked out a different book because the book that I picked was pretty long, and since it was only completing one prompt, I decided to leave it. It just wasn't calling to me. I was, like, okay, I need to do something else. One of the Battle Stain rewards. So let me flip to my powers and find the one. Okay. Here it is. Okay. remove one prompt from Iron Man or Rhodey. So I knew where that was going to fit best was just to remove this specific prompt, because at that point I had already done Rhodey's TBR, and I knew that it would make no sense to take one off of his, so I did this one. Okay, so that is Iron Man's completed board, like that. Oh, center prompt, I watched a TED Talk from, I have like a never cleared out watch later list. I've actually done amazing about going back through it, but a lot of the ones that I haven't watched yet are TED Talks, because it takes a lot out of you when you watch a TED Talk, you know? And like, you gotta be prepared, and you also have to like, it's a longer video, it's a commitment, so, and it's an emotional commitment as well. So I did watch one on, I've watched some other ones since, but one of the ones that I watched from it was How to Spot a Liar, which was pretty cool. A very interesting TED Talk. Yeah. And kind of useful in the fact that I work with 3-year-olds. So, and you have to ask them about 50 times before they will actually change their lie and tell you the truth. So, knowing cues for lying and things like that can be beneficial, because like, yeah, they're 3, so they haven't learned some of the behaviors, but also it helps to know like little things. It's come in handy already, and I only watched it through the one time. So let's talk about Rhodey. So since I made the mistake of not talking about Iron Man in the last wrap up, which was my original plan, was to talk about Iron Man with those other 2. Since I didn't do that, because I only had 2 books to add in, like, so it was gonna work out that way, but then it didn't work out that way because I made the mistake. So I decided that the next best thing would be to combine Iron Man and Rhodey into one wrap up. So here we go. For Rhodey's board, let's get to it. Firstly, I did use Slay for one prompt, and that is a black protagonist. Days of Blood and Starlight by Lanny Taylor. This is the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. Funny story, I thought that Dreams of Gods and Monsters was book 2, and I started reading it, and I got like 20 pages in, and I was still completely confused. So we love that for me. At that point, I was like, there's either I completely forgot something important at the end, or I'm an idiot. Yeah, so there's that. So this book completes the prompts. Focuses on loyalty, gray or metallic cover, has had a cover change, discusses military elements, and strong friendship. 5 out of 8 with one book. Yes. We love to see it. We love to see it. So, a synopsis, that will be in the first, or that will be linked down below where I discussed the first book. But archetypes still, some of these are repeated from the last one. Some of them are, new ones. So portal magic, angels, multi-worlds, dream sequence, war, healing magic, resurrection magic, what is it called? I was just talking about this with my dad, and I finally remembered the word I wanted. It's not resurrection, it's why did it leave me again? Okay, I've got to move on because it's not coming back. Okay, musician, artist, found family, star-crossed lovers, secret spy, deception, subterfuge, set in Africa. Like, things that I disliked in this book. To put it simply, I'm not going to go in super depth because it is a book 2. So, there were still stupid things, kind of like in book 1, that I didn't like. I think there were more things that specifically bothered me or annoyed me in this book, more than it just, like, the vibe. It was like, but there were a lot more things that I actually enjoyed. It was much stronger of a book than book 1. So I rated it 4 stars. Basically there was like so much more character development, so much more plot development. There was more world building. It was just more. Like book 1, the entirety of book 1 was just a big setup. This was where the magic really started to happen. And the story really started to take off here. Like book 1, well, okay, whatever. This was where it really, really picked up. This is where the story really starts, in my opinion. But all of that said, I'm gonna cut that off there and wrap this video up. Lastly, for Rhodey's board, we have a boss battle reward. So we have, let's see, Battle Vanco, which, count a board as completed if you have 2 prompts left. Now, if you did all 5 Mad Libs, then you got to do, if you only have 2 prompts, if you did a certain number of the Mad Libs, then you got to do, you have 1 prompt left, you can count the board as completed. This one, if you did all 5 Mad Libs, you got to do all but 2 prompts. So you got to count it as complete if you had all but 2 prompts done. So those 2 prompts were completed by the battle reward. Wow. I should not have started filming this late. It was a mistake. I made the mistake. But that said, the 2 prompts that it cut for me were a sci-fi book and a character that uses a mobility aid. I'm kind of glad that I was able to eliminate sci-fi, not because I don't like sci-fi, but I have to be in the mood for it, and I tend to read it a little bit more slowly. Because pacing-wise, it's just a thing. Also, I have a mobility aid, which as much as I would love for that to be easy to find and something I already had another TBR book for, and something that fit already in my thing, like it didn't really fit anything that I already had, and I didn't dig deep into my TBR shelves to look for one because I ended up with this reward, so I just kind of like went with it. It's fine. Okay, so that's it. That's it. That's all for these 2 boards. Look at it. Look at it. I forgot to talk about this stupid center prompt. Oh my lord. Okay, so I read an article about the intersection of disability and race on respectability.org. I read an article about this whole thing because this is not something I've super in-depth looked into, but I can see why it would be an issue because of the accessibility to the tools you need being an issue. Like, I can see that being a problem. So, that all said, that is everything for this video. I'm sorry it was a little scattered, and I'm sorry I'm a bit of a mess today, but that's just the way it's gonna be today. And you get to see it 2 more times in 2 more videos. Yay, you! Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can join the Bear Scouts and be notified every time I post a new video. I'll see you guys soon with another one. Peace out, Bear Scouts.
Forget about your worries and your stress.